Protests erupting across Russia after Putin's partial mobilization announcement. For those of you who don't know, I know that Vladimir Putin claimed that there wasn't a war happening in Ukraine, but it kind of seems like there is, don't you think? 300,000 conscriptions have been announced. People are protesting it and also getting arrested and immediately being forced to serve. Not a war, by the way, of course. Let's take a look.
Under pressure as protests break out across Russia. More than 1,000 arrested after Putin's order to call up more troops. Our
Thank you, Spider from Mars.
Correspondent Martha Raditz has more for us this morning. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Michael. This morning, President Putin making clear he will not back down in Ukraine despite significant setbacks, not only reminding the world that Russia has nuclear weapons, but calling up hundreds of thousands of men to join the war effort, a move that prompted...
I made jokes about this yesterday or 2 days ago when it first came out, and I was like, hey, special operation, but also these guys are, 300,000 guys to do victory laps. That's what it is, totally. Everything is totally fine. It's not a war, totally not a war. But also, maybe it is a war. I don't know. It seems like a war is happening.
Widespread protests. This morning, more than 1,000 Russian protesters detained by Russian police after taking to the streets. Young men chanting, "I don't want to die for Putin." Mothers screaming, "Send Putin to the trenches, let our children live." This after President Putin suddenly announcing he would call up
I want to know what the MAGA communists that are like super fucking pro-Putin, who say I'm a fake leftist, have at this very moment about this war that's going on. I always think about those guys, like all 8 of them.
300,000 men for military service after his massive losses in Ukraine.
That's a thing. Not only is that a thing, but that's a thing that people think I am, regardless of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that this community has raised with me donation matching as well for Ukrainian victims. But that's unimportant to this matter.
Putin called the move necessary and urgent, causing not only protests but panic. Within hours of the speech, citizens flooding the airports, with nearly all international flights out of Russia sold out. President Biden at the UN launching a blistering condemnation of Putin.
President Putin has made overt nuclear threats against Europe. Now, Russia's calling up more soldiers to join the fight. And the Kremlin is organizing a sham referenda to try to annex parts of Ukraine. This world should see these outrageous acts for what they are.
Biden saying the world's blood should run cold over the invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky in a pre-recorded speech to the UN calling for more military and humanitarian aid.
A crime has been committed against Ukraine, and we demand just punishment. The crime was committed against the values that make you and me a community of the United Nations. And Ukraine demands punishment for trying to steal our territory.
This comes as the battle on the ground continues to rage, with Russia vowing it will regain lost territory. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge is in Kharkiv in Ukraine's northeast.
We heard loud explosions here in central Kharkiv overnight, not far from here. As you can see, Russia is wrecking this city. But we're also hearing a lot of outgoing fire from the Ukrainians. Ukraine now trying to push east into the Donbass. Ukrainian forces trying to capitalize on their momentum before the weather turns, the ground softens, and any offensive becomes much harder.
But amidst the carnage and Putin's alarming escalation, some good news. 2 Americans, Andy Huyn and Alex Druki, have been freed. The 2 men who joined the fight in Ukraine had been held as...
Bro, what the fuck is homie doing? I mean, this guy makes sense, right? Like, that looks like a classic hoorah guy. What's this homie doing, bro? You got a walking stick. What are you doing in Ukraine, brother? Yo, people are crazy. He's an ex-HasanAbi head? Wait, really? No fucking shot, dude. You just made that up. I would love to hear his perspective.
Prisoners of war by the Russians for more than 3 months, along with 8 other foreign prisoners. They were part of a prisoner exchange mediated by the Saudi crown prince. Druki's mother already in touch with her son.
Alex said that he was in good spirits. He sounded good and strong, and it was just wonderful.
Both Americans are expected to be home soon, but Ukraine's war with Russia is far from over. Michael?
And without a doubt, Martha, thank you. And for more, let's bring in our contributor, former Defense and State Department official Steve Gagnier. Steve, thank you for joining us this morning. And what do you make of these protests across Russia? What do they tell you about Putin's move to mobilize more troops?
I mean, what do you think, man? It's like, kind of seems like it's unfavorable. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say people don't like it, I think. Very similar, not dissimilar to Vietnam.
Yeah, Michael, up until now, the war in Ukraine has not affected the individual Russian citizen. It's been the Russian military goes to war and the Russian citizen goes to the mall. But this changes everything. Putin is asking a lot of the individual Russian person. Think about what the Vietnam War did to the social fabric in the U.S. when young men were asked to go fight for a war that they didn't believe in. That may be what we're seeing here in Russia. We'll need to watch it in the days and weeks to come to see how it affects not
the Russian protests were small in comparison, though. Bro, look at what they're doing. If they catch you protesting in your military age, I heard that they literally fucking force you to the front lines immediately. Okay, you can't say pre-watch to that. It's the most obvious fucking take that, like, young men don't want to fucking die in battle because some dickhead decided to do the most unimaginably insane thing, which is invade Ukraine. Like, straight up, absolutely psychotic thing. Ukraine literally made all the men join the military? Yeah, because they were being invaded. The fuck? Yeah, dude, there's a bit of it. First of all, I don't even know if that's still the case. But, like, yeah, there's a difference between the country being invaded and the country doing the invasion. Donbass wants independence. How are they any different than Palestine? I don't think that, especially the Donbass region now, maybe is not the Palestine reference that you think it is. There were arguments that you could have made, but, you know, at this stage, it's not. First of all, they've been shelling. It's over. Like, the people that are there that were Ukrainian are gone. There was shelling that was ongoing leading up to the invasion that led to 14,000 people dying. There were so many diplomatic avenues. And also, as I have said time and time again, many missed opportunities on either side, regardless of who the aggressor was. And the aggressor was Russia, obviously. And what I'm referencing, of course, is the Minsk agreements. That would have been a far more favorable circumstance. A far more favorable circumstance for everyone involved and all the lives that were lost. However, at this stage, Ukraine has taken back territory that Russia took that moved even beyond the original LPR, DPR territory that they were slated to annex. Not only that, but at the time, as I said, they literally destroyed like complete diplomatic opportunities or even like any sort of serious fucking election, like a real election that could have taken place when they took over areas where there were more favorable opinions to Russia. Because as we've talked about before, there are many studies that have been conducted. The further east you go in Ukraine, the more pro-Russia the sentiment becomes. But that's all done. It's done now. With the exception of areas that have been cleansed, basically, of Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian population, all of these places are completely fucking destroyed and are entirely, if allowed to be repopulated by Ukrainians, are going to never, ever want to have anything to do with Russia ever again. Based on how poor Russian military has performed against Ukraine, is it possible that Russia's nuclear shit too? I mean, that's not a gamble that I would touch. But the one thing that is definite, undeniable, is that Russia's military operation took the fattest of fucking L's. Well, it's terrifying for a couple different reasons, okay? It's good. It's terrifying for this reason. I'll just say that. It also opened up an idea for America, a new way of never even sending a single fucking American troop to another area and just continuously engage in proxy wars, which they were doing already. They can do whatever the fuck they want, everywhere they want to. And in many instances, like in Ukraine, there is a justifiable perspective of emancipation from the Ukrainian people themselves, understandably, who want to rid themselves of, not a new idea, it's an old idea, but it's now definitely, it's a definitely solid one against even Russia as well. I know world powers have always done that, but oftentimes it's like done through secondary forces that you give training to. Like Syria is a good example of this, where you have like direct military why can't I talk today? What the fuck is going on? Confrontation. But now you can have like entire state military apparatus geared to do wars against other entire military state apparatus, as long as you're just selling weapons directly. The only things Russia succeeded at were cyber attacks at the start of the war, but they failed to capitalize on those grounds. The defense industry worldwide is beefing up too, which is devastating to think of. But Turkey and other countries sending weapons to Ukraine are also expanding its defense industries at a quick rate. Yeah. You have brain rot from the drama? Probably. I don't know. I just know that this is going further south. This is not fully confirmed, and take it with a grain of salt, but the head of RT confirmed details about mobilization. Also haven't seen / heard one bit about being arrested or catapulted to the front lines. I'm not risking visiting right now. Lamau. Yeah, don't do it. But the more this continues, and we know this as Americans, right? You're an American, so you've gone through this. You've seen this throughout our history. Of course, it's a little bit different because America is the fucking world superpower, so it can continue doing multiple front proxy wars, boots on the ground military intervention, and whatever the fuck it wants without having too much trouble back home. However, the longer a war continues like this, which was literally my original analysis as to why I thought foolishly that Vladimir Putin would not invade a country with 40 million citizens that have based their entire nation-building project on resentment towards an imperial or irredentist superpower next door, as you all probably famously recall. I knew that this was going to be an impossible operation. Also, the Azovstal defenders, including Azov commanders, have been released yesterday. I thought, wait, what? Really? I did not even know that.
Not only support for the war, but for support for Putin personally.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison there. And he's calling up hundreds of thousands of more men, but you say it's unclear what kind of difference it will make.
Yeah, Michael, these are going to be, at best, conscripts, people who have served in the past, have had no follow-on training, but it's probably going to be just pulling people, any able-bodied military-age man off the street who can fog a mirror. And so don't expect any better performance out of a Russian military that has systemic flaws and has deep corruption. So I think in a lot of ways these troops are just going to be cannon fodder that Putin may be able to use sometime in the early spring.
Steve Gagnier, thank you as always.
Hi, everyone.
Friend of the show, Nadya from Pussy Riot, reveals what happened to her after protesting
Ukraine's
Putin.
successful counteroffensive is dividing Russia's own military leaders. Sources tell CNN Russians are split on how to respond to Ukraine's unexpected advances on the battlefield as Moscow finds itself on the defensive now in both the northeast, the east, and the south. The Kremlin is cracking down on public dissent of President Vladimir Putin's plan to mobilize some 300,000 new troops. More than 1,300 anti-war protesters have now been detained across Russia, some of them brought directly to be conscripted into the military. Joining me now is Nadya Tolokonikova. She's a Russian activist, co-founder of the feminist protest art collective known as Pussy Riot. She spent nearly 2 years herself in Russian detention, beginning in 2012, simply for performing an anti-Putin protest song. Nadya, it's so good to have you on today.
She's looking good.
Good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
First, I want to ask you about the protests that we are seeing now. I think that we in the West, we often pay a great deal of attention to these things, even when they're relatively limited, because we're aware of the challenges and the dangers, and you face this yourself, of standing up to the Russian government.
It's always funny to get CNN anchors, like serious CNN anchors, to say pussy without skipping a beat. You know what I mean? Yeah, Pussy Riot.
Are these latest protests, in your view, different? And do they show that Putin's power, his grip, is perhaps less strong than we knew?
Well,
all I'm saying is I had her on the stream first, okay, CNN?
as someone who spent 2 years in jail myself, had my family members been poisoned with nerve agents. I greatly know the price of protesting in Putin's Russia, and this price is growing day by day, with Putin getting more and more uncomfortable about his position on the geopolitical arena. And with the latest achievements of Ukraine, he feels increasingly uncomfortable. Another important thing happened just now. One of the biggest Russian artists, pop star Alla Pugacheva, who is loved by many generations, my grandmother, my mother, and me, all of us were listening to Alla Pugacheva and still listening to her. She condemned the war in Ukraine and the regime that started this war, and she asked to proclaim her a so-called foreign agent. This is the common name for people who criticize Vladimir Putin. I'm an official foreign agent myself, and it has consequences for you, legal consequences. And that was, Alla Pugacheva's statement was a symptom of something bigger, of a growing discontent of Russian people with the war in Ukraine, because it's not obvious for Russian people what is this war about and how Russian people are benefiting from this war.
You had a meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken,
That's
recently,
wild.
and I understand that you've already heard a reaction from Russia to that meeting, and there's the picture.
It was pretty incredible to see.
It is kind of insane that man, not to toot my own horn, but goddamn, dude, the HasanAbi broadcast is a fucking wild place, dude. Okay, I just, come on. Like, this is a person who came to my house with a fucking whip, and she's meeting with Antony Blinken.
Maria Zakharova, who is the press secretary of Sergei Lavrov, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Russia, who is in New York today. She wrote a statement about my meeting with Secretary Blinken. She said that the Secretary of State of the United States made its decision, and they made its decision with whom they're going to be discussing the future of Russia, and that's going to be Putin. And for her, it's funny, but I believe it's the right choice, because it's me and my colleagues who are going to be working on improving the image of Russia and reassuring the world, and especially Ukraine, that...
I mean, yeah, look, here you go. Say...
I don't know how to whip a whip.
How did this even happen? Oh,
I just whipped myself.
what an insane... Sometimes I confuse my own damn self.
Yeah, can you show me?
Okay. Oh my God.
Wait, can I try? Yeah, first. Okay.
Okay, I want to... Wait, hold on. I want to show this. 1 second.
Yes. Great. Did I do it? Yeah. I feel like I'm not quite getting the audio though.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. This is good. Sick.
Wait, you do it again? And now that it's on camera, I want to...
You do it and I'll play it.
Okay, don't break my floor, though, please. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Okay.
Do you want to try this one?
I do want to try it. Yeah, I do actually want to try it. Oh, Fiona. Fiona's scared. It's okay, Fiona.
You're lower. You're lower. Yeah, like, no, I mean, like, I'm somewhere in the upper register. But I love it.
Oh, do it. Oh, we scared the dog. Yeah.
This is literally a thing that happened on this fucking broadcast. You motherfuckers act like I'm not a good streamer. Well, not you, but some people, haters.
They can trust us.
I've been to Russia myself, and I've often been impressed by the warm welcome, far different from how the government behaves. I do want to ask you, do you have hope that Putin's grip on power can be broken? That the people who oppose him can have real power and affect real change in Russia?
People who oppose Putin, they have real power, and that's the reason of Putin's repressions on us. We're building alternative.
Why are you
Russia
hyping a
with,
crypto law? Why are you hyping a crypto scammer? Bitch, you fucking protest your government to get arrested, and then hype you up too. Okay, yeah. Nobody's perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like, Like, the fuck do you mean, bro? Like, Jesus Christ.
Values that are different from Putin's values. We want to be a part of the Western civilization. We are standing for peace, for democracy, for freedom of speech, for creative freedoms, and we are part of a different Russia.
Also, I did call her out for that.
Grandkids of people who gave the world beautiful art of the beginning of 20th century, the avant-garde movement. And
Come on, she's a fucking NGO CIA talk person. I mean, she's very clearly has in the past and is still in contact with the U.S. State Department. Yes, I understand. I know.
I believe that there is a different alternative
So
Russia.
hot. Hold on.
Putin tries to suppress us, and he is pretty effective at that because he is a KGB agent and he has the police and army. But I believe that we're going to be able to break through.
The Brittany Griner, of course, one of two Americans, continues to be held in Russia, and you've been very public about her case, standing with her as well. And by the way, you have served, and there you are wearing a T-shirt, Free Brittany Griner. You served time in a penal colony. That is where she is spending time right now. What do you think the present is like for her, what she's going through, and what do you think her future will be? Do you think she'll be...
I said, I'm so hot, man. I said, I'm so hot. I'm taking my fucking...
released?
I really hope that...
Roasted up to avoid the boner allegations? Jesus Christ, man. The vibes have been so different lately on this fucking broadcast. I want to... You're making me not have a serious face, okay? You're hurting my neutral reaction face that I've been working very hard on.
America will stand for her, and I really hope that she's going to be exchanged. She definitely needs to get out of Russian prison.
My reaction to that information?
Because Russian prison is a horrible place. It doesn't... it lacks medication, it lacks basic conditions. Living conditions in Russian jail are really surprisingly close to those that are described in books about Gulag by Solzhenitsyn or Shalamov. And it's a really scary place. And especially for a person who doesn't speak Russian language and she doesn't know how to stand up, because she doesn't speak Russian language, she doesn't know how to read the law. So
you should be like, why does she stand out? Nadya, huh? Describe in detail why you think Brittany Griner stands out in Russian prison.
It means that basically the guards can do whatever they want with her and she cannot stand up for herself. And unfortunately, no one in Russian prison speaks English, so she has to get out as soon as possible.
Neutral reacts only you are smiling.